what we can give these women to maximize their experiences.
Yes. Well, I would love to hear what you talk to your women about in terms of orgasms and to help elevate that.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say typically when we discuss and usually we have either postpartum women or pathology.
Mm-hmm.
So pain with intercourse, inability to have intercourse, painful orgasms. Mm-hmm. Or lack of orgasm. Mm-hmm. So let's say for lack of orgasm, we would recommend any re-sensitization. Mm-hmm. So these are strategies we'd use with patients who have strokes and they literally cannot sense their arm. Mm-hmm. You would start with light touch, maybe use a washcloth, and reintroduce different textures and pressures.
Sensations.
And
yes.
we expect the brain to start to reconnect with that.
Yes.
So we would give them, permission to explore their physicality.
Great.
Do you feel more calm and relaxed when you massage your own inner thighs?
Yes.
When you place your hand on your vulva?
Yes.
When you are exploring the spaces intravaginally? Mm-hmm. When you can maybe come near the clitoris?
Yes.
Because a lot of women will be like, I don't even like to touch, for anyone to touch my clitoris.
Correct.
Like it's so sensitive.
Yes.
So we encourage them to say, I don't like that touch yet.
Right.
Same with nipples. Like sometimes they can be way too sensitive and they're like, no, especially breastfeeding.
Yes.
So we invite them to reconnect with touch if they do not have orgasm. We'll assess their pelvic floor, see if it's tight, if it's weak. Mm-hmm. And also I like to point out too, weak can mean like in the moment it doesn't have a good strength. It also can talk about musculature that's just thin. Mm. Like it's so not plump and structurally sound.
Right.
Not to bring in a gross topic, but when we were doing cadaver lab in PT school, we have bodies of people who donated to science, said, here, you can just take this whole vessel that I lived in and cut it up and learn from it. Yeah. And we would have, they were mainly elderly, we would have musculature that we could barely appreciate with that scalpel because they're like so thin. It was like a piece of lunch meat roast beef. I'm like, this is the entire bicep? Like, what? Yeah. And so when you're assessing the pelvic floor, you can really tell when it's like thick, robust, healthy musculature that has bulk and blood flow and capacity versus if it's like this weak little beep. Right. And you're like, okay, well, it's there.
But what helps it to get there? What helps it to get like plump and robust?
Yeah. Repetition, strengthening, length. It can't get robust and strong if it's too tight. Right. You can't contract it.
Exactly.
So we typically take them through a process depending on what they show us at the eval, lengthening, strengthening, positions. I mean, sometimes the pelvic bones are just not in the right place. So the muscles are being tweaked. Right. And then control. Yeah. They're controlling those muscles. They're voluntary. Yeah. It's not your heart. It's not your digestive system. Your pelvic floor, you are operating that. Yes. So you might not think, okay, pelvic floor tighten because I'm really annoyed because the water's boiling and the phone's ringing and this kid won't stop pulling on my leg. You don't tell it that. Right. But in that moment, you're saying, I'm not safe to relax. Right. So the pelvic floor goes, shoop.
Yep.
Tighten
Exactly.
up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's safe to relax.
Yeah.
Is everything.
Right?
Everything.
Yeah.
Right? Because even in terms of touch, that if I'm overwhelmed and overstimulated and my partner goes to touch me, right? Yeah. My first reaction might be to flinch. Yep. Right? Because
and
if
they don't
we're
like that.
No. Absolutely not.
It's not really what they're looking for. Yeah.
No. But if we are, if we allow ourselves to find that ease and that rest, because when we're in that survival mode, right? Yeah. I mean, biologically, nothing else matters, right? Yeah. Reproduction doesn't matter. No. It's just I have to stay alive.
Yes.
Right? Yep. And so in our society, when we're so revved up and there's so many things that are vying for our attention and so many responsibilities and all the roles that we have, right? We're not giving ourselves that time. Yeah. To find rest in a safe, relaxing way. Right. So I very much encourage the women that I work with to give themselves moments of transition. Right. Yeah. And this is something that the partners are also, it's important for the partners to know.
Yes.
Right. Yep. Where, okay, if you want to have some sexy time later, right? And that might not mean intercourse, right? I can have sex in a lot of different ways. It doesn't necessarily include intercourse, right?
Yeah.
Again, we're zooming out of this pigeonhole.
Beautiful.
Right? So if mom needs some time to decompress, then dad, maybe you can go and help with bedtime, right?
Yeah.
Or help start to put lunches together for tomorrow.
Wash those dishes.
Wash, it's like really taking a look. And this is where it can get tough, right? Because some couples watching might be like, oh, I've tried to ask, but then they're saying, I've also been at work all day and I'm also exhausted and I'm also contributing around the household. What more do you want me to do? I'm tired too, right?
Right.
Okay, well then it no longer becomes a team.
Yes. Yeah. Because you're both just looking out for yourselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's where the couples counseling.
Yes, I was going to say. Yeah, it sounds like we just need help.
Comes into it, right? Because we have to, feel safe enough in this relationship where I can lower my walls.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yes.
And when I feel that, then it's like, okay, I can rest and then I can receive.